increase its revenues because property values continue to increase. He points out the Clinton district has one of the lowest levies in the area.
Every year we're getting about $200,000 to $500,000 more from our levy, which is our tax rate, and we are at the very, very bottom. So while our levy continues to go up slightly, I keep levying the same amount of money. So our taxes aren't going up, and then our taxes really, if you look at everybody else, we're still the lowest. And this data is from it's a couple years ago. I didn't search everyone's tax rate as of this year, but I think it's pretty steady. And I think if anything, those rates would have gone up if any of these districts did a tax referendum. We did not. I know ours is where it is at. If anything, other people might be higher than. So the next one is another source of revenue. We get, besides the local taxes, which I just went over, we get grants, and then we get evidence-based funding.
Goebel is pleased because after teacher salaries, which included raises for nearly all staff, they're still coming out significantly ahead. Get news anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com.
This is staff meteorologist Jennifer Wojcicki with your regional radio forecast. Chance for scattered showers this afternoon, otherwise partly cloudy skies. Highs level off around 82, northeasterly winds 5 to 10 miles per hour. Lows dip down to about 58. Tonight, mainly clear skies and quiet. Mainly clear skies and quiet again. Tomorrow, highs level off around 82. Hear weather twice an hour or online anytime at DeWittDailyNews.com. Currently, it's 64.
DeWittDailyNews.com is the area's leading local news source 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Get the latest local news, obituaries, police blotter, weather forecast, and more with no paywall. Head to DeWittDailyNews.com to get the local information you need to know.
For the latest in Central Illinois agricultural news, visit IllinoisFarmRadio.com. Get updated information on markets, weather, ag news, local interviews with NAFB farm broadcaster Jared White, and much, much more. All at IllinoisFarmRadio.com.
Life is uncertain. Stop in and see me, State Farm Agent Jason France, on the west side of the Clinton Square, or click our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com and see how our full lineup of State Farm insurance and financial services can help protect your family.
Local farm broadcaster Jared White covers the local agriculture news you need to know. Hear his reports by downloading the free WHOW mobile app.
Ace is the place with the helpful hardware, folks.
Ace now offers free assembly and free delivery, so it's never been easier to get a great grill for your family, like a Weber gas grill, a Traeger wood pellet grill, or a Big Green Egg charcoal grill. Only at your neighborhood Ace. Around the block. What you need in stock. With people who know their grills.
This is Brad from Gibson Ace Hardware in Clinton, Illinois. Stop in to see us, the helpful place at 114 North Madison Street, Clinton.
See participating store for details.
Summer savings are sizzling during the Deer Days of Summer on now at Sloan's. The John Deere One Family Series compact utility tractor is just the workhorse you need around your place. Now get 0% financing for 84 months, plus you'll always get the signature John Deere dependability that Sloan's is known for. 0% for 84 months. Some restrictions apply. See Sloan Implement for details. Offer ends 10/28/22. Test drive and buy today.
Power up with Sloan's.
WHOW. Top of the morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. My guest in studio today, Curt Nettles, Superintendent of Clinton Schools, follows up the Tuesday night Clinton Board of Education meeting. Good morning, Mr. Nettles.
Good morning.
Happy first day of school, sir.
It is the first day of school, 22-23.
I'm not going to ask you if you're ready for school because I reckon by your comment last night, you're getting that question enough.
I'm glad people ask me that, really, but I think they just want to ask me about school, and that's fine. Whether it's people here in this community or other communities that know me and know what I do for a living. But sometimes I say we're not ready yet, but we're getting there. So a couple of days ago, I said, we're ready. Let's go.
You know who's ready? The Cardinals are ready for the postseason.
2 games up in first place in the Central.
And this is a good week for the Mets to get swept by the Braves. So,
well, and then the Brewers are playing the Dodgers.
Yeah, who won that game last night?
The Dodgers.
The Dodgers.
No, I'm sorry. The Brewers
did.
won. Yeah, I think the Dodgers and the Yankees are both tired right now.
Yeah, they're kind of
So
puttering to the finish.
Yep.
They've blown a tire, I think.
They'll rear their ugly heads again here in a few weeks.
See, I'm not really big into the Brewers or the Yankees. Yankees lineup is not that deep, and their pitching is just okay. And the Brewers, kind of same thing. Like lineup's not too deep, and pitching once you get past the first two, you're not dealing with anything stellar there. So
we'll see what happens.
It's going to be crazy.
Survival of the fittest.
Yeah, it really is. And like Mets pitching is falling apart, so I really can't even be confident in that right now.
Yeah, they need some adrenaline.
Something.
September, October.
You would have thought Jacob deGrom coming back would have been that adrenaline, but it has.
So. I think it was for the Cardinals when Yachty came back.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you need those like infusions of energy, which some teams get, some teams don't. But anyways, Mr. Nettles, let's dive into school business. First day of school, just 8th time around for you in Clinton. Does it do anything for you? Is it just another day? How about that?
No, it's opening day. So we have an opening day when all the teachers show up, which I call that opening day, and then first day of school we call first day, or I call it that. But no, every year it's like a refresh. You've had the summer, you've had kind of some downtime, and in my job I work through the summer, but there's just not a lot of people around. We're just kind of doing the business things and kind of getting some other things ready to go. But boy, when everybody starts showing up, there's a buzz. And I was over at Lincoln School this morning before I came over here, and we did a little extra innings video thing with a couple of kids and a teacher. And there's some happy parents. There's some parents with the little tear coming out of the corner of the eye. And I remember that. So it's a mixed emotions, but kids seemed excited overall. There was a real buzz in their cafeteria.
Yeah, both my kids were up early this morning, ready for first day of school. So
good.
They were excited about it. Well, Mr. Nettles, let's dive into the Clinton Board of Education meeting. It feels like just about every year you've got a Board of Education meeting on the eve of the first day of school. And so last night, some really good news out of that board meeting. CPPRT funds, I'll let you explain what those are. Those are very up this year, significantly up this year. What's going on there?
Yeah, that's the thing. What is going on there? To me, it's like, when's the other shoe going to drop on this thing? So corporate personal property replacement tax, folks, you can Google that and you can read up on it all you want. But basically, I think back in the 70s, they took away the ability for local municipalities to tax personal property and some things like that. So this tax was set up to kind of reimburse them or help cover that gap a little bit for municipalities, city governments, and school districts get it too. So some areas have a really high amount, some low, some in the middle. We were kind of mid-level. We were kind of getting about $1 million or so a year on that. It was pretty steady, as Mr. Goebel was explaining last night. And then over these last 2 years, it has just shot up a ridiculous amount. We got like 3.2 million last year, and we're projected to get 3.5 this year. School district like Monticello gets, they're like closer to $10 million a year anyway. They were always a high school district on that, but everybody's getting more. So some information Mr. Goebel had found showed that the state was moving money from one fund to that fund to make up for some statutory limitations. Apparently I don't think they're allowed to have too much money in that fund. So they were in a certain fund. So they're moving it into the CPPRT fund, which means municipalities, school districts get more of it. So it won't last. I just don't believe that will last. It'll come back down, which is not going to hurt us. I mean, we never planned to get that much anyway. So it just helps the bottom line and helps us to be able to afford to do some really great things with programs.
Yeah, I know that your Vic Zimmerman over in Monticello, of course, retired this year, but he always talked about that being a substantial part of their budget. And I never realized we got that much here in Clinton.
Sure.
So that was kind of eye-opening last night to hear Mr. Goebel talk about that.
Yeah. So yeah, we were always getting a little over $1 million, but to let it climb up into the 2 and then to the 3 is it's
pretty significant.
Seems a little crazy.
It is. But with that said, I was a little confused going back to listen to what Mr. Goebels had to say. I felt like he left the thought a little incomplete trying to explain what CPPRT was and how it impacted the budget. My question is So he had talked about, like, last week was planning on around $1 million going into the like reserves, basically.
Uh-huh.
Is that going to increase because of CPPRT dollars being so drastically increased? How about that?
So we didn't get that report till late in the game. So it was Thursday last week that I got information on the CPPRT info. So I funneled that to him quickly. And so he obviously changed the budget, the revenue side of the budget. So going in, he was thinking that we might do a working cash transfer of $1 million at the end of this school year, which is June 30. That's a long time away. A lot of things change.
What is a working cash transfer?
So working cash, again, is that fund that we have, all school districts have. If you compare it to what you do as a family, you have a savings account, you have some things in reserve. You can use working cash in any of the main operating funds to help shore up some loose ends or a deficit or something like that.
So it's basically a savings account?
It's a savings account, but you're limited on how you can use it.
Okay.
But a lot of times school districts will put it into their ed fund at the end of the year to help offset expenses that maybe you didn't know were going to occur, or if you had a deficit plan. So us having a deficit plan is not a big deal. What I want to remind everybody is that the tax rate in our ed fund is only 184. That's extremely low for a unit district like us. So we don't necessarily rake in a ton of money into the ed fund. We do really well. But for our programs and personnel and everything we have that we need to do, sometimes we might come up a little bit short, but we have the working cash money. We do have money in reserve. So our school district is in great financial shape.
Very good. And one other thing you had mentioned, on top of this good news is the fact that this district now has a deal in place with Exelon. Right. Not Exelon, Constellation. Yeah. Sorry, Constellation. And so that's going to also help out this budget cycle, it sounds like.
Well, it will, because they in the deal, the evaluation or the valuation of the power plant went up. It was the estimated valuation of the plant for taxing purposes was at $217 million for quite some time. It's gonna be up over $240 million. And what that means is we then apply our tax rate to that amount and divide it among the funds that we have. So the increase in the EAV on the power plant alone is going to be a pretty big boost to our education fund.
Yeah. And one other thing that Mr. Goebel mentioned I found of interest is that revenues for the district continue to go up despite the levy staying consistent.
So, yeah. So we do the levy. So what we ask for and what we get, the extension that we get.
No. I meant or is it the power plant levy that he was referencing?
Well, a little both.
Okay.
But our overall tax levy, I mean, we ask for a little bit more money every year, but with our tax base being what it is, we can keep our tax rate the same. And our overall tax rate will run 3.55 to 3.60. There's no school district that I'm aware of, a unit district that has a tax rate that low. There might be somewhere, but you might get an elementary district that's got a lower, or high school district only. But when you have K-12, pre-K through 12, a unit district in this part of the state to have a tax rate where we are at 3.6 is phenomenal. So we're going to stay in great shape with that.
Curt Nettles, Superintendent of Clinton Schools, is our guest in studio this morning. Mr. Nettles, anything on that? Anything budget-wise? Things can change, obviously. I think you finalized that in June, if I'm not mistaken, of next year. So
yeah, so a budget is a plan, and we think we have a really good plan for it. But again, there might be things happening we're not expecting. So we'll amend the budget toward the end of the fiscal year to more closely match what actually is happening to wind up the fiscal year. And that helps the State Board of Education and our auditors if we amend it to more closely reflect actuality.
Very good. Well, let's take a break here. Come back with some more. Curt Nettles, Superintendent of Clinton Schools, our guest in studio this morning as we follow up the Tuesday night Clinton Board of Education meeting. More to come on the morning show.
WHOW.
Let's check the opening numbers now. The Chicago Board of Trade on this Wednesday. I'm Jim Taylor. Corn starting the day higher, beans double-digit higher, and wheat starting the day lower. September corn opening 6.15 1/4, up 4 1/4. December new crop up 3 1/4, 6.13 1/2, and March corn 6.21 1/4, up 3 1/4. September bean starting today 14.69 3/4, up 15 1/2. November new crop up 11, 13.92. January beans 13.98 1/2, that's up 10 1/2. September wheat 7.80 3/4, down 5 1/4. December wheat down 5 1/2, 7.97 1/4. March wheat 8.11 1/4. That's down 5 1/2 to begin this Wednesday. September bean meal 436.80, up 90 cents, and September bean oil 67.90, up 6 cents. I'm Jim Taylor, the RFD Radio Network.
We often use the term full service, but what does that really mean? This is Scott Baum from Baum Chevrolet Buick here in Clinton. Full service means we provide solutions for your transportation problems. We have 24 hours towing, collision repairs, engine maintenance, tire replacement and alignments, including wheel balancing. We're your problem-solving team. We pledge to listen to your car concerns and discuss your best options. BaumChevyBuick.com, right from the start.
CEO Paul Scarron here from Warner Hospital and Health Services in Clinton. Our trained physical therapists offer quality, compassionate care close to home. Find out more by clicking our icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
When it comes to fire and water restoration, ServPro of Piatt DeWitt counties is the leader in cleaning, restoration, and construction. Find out all the services they provide by clicking their icon at DeWittDailyNews.com.
Your friend in Central Illinois, WHOW.
Once again, good morning. Thanks for being with us. I'm your host today, Seth Lawrence. The WHOW Morning Show is streaming to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. My guest in this segment of the program is, Mr. Curt Nettles. He is the superintendent of Clinton Schools, following up the Tuesday night Clinton Board of Education meeting. Nothing imminent, Mr. Nettles, but continued emphasis on facilities and just outlining a future plan for those. Talk about what you told the board last night.
Yeah, what I would like to do is have a facilities discussion over the next year, do some planning. What we need to do, take a look at is everything. We need to look at our buildings. We have 5 buildings. We have a rental space that we use for Clinton Academy, and just talk about what do we need. I think there's probably some absolute needs.
Like
and
what?
Then I think our high school lab, science lab, needs to be updated. I know the family and consumer science area in the high school should be updated. Those are a couple of things that stick out in my mind.
And those aren't like the equipment would be expensive. I would venture a guess the remodel may not be that.
New equipment and possibly some remodel for
right.
Student space and
spaces,
that. So,
right.
So a facilities plan is really what we're talking about. Is let's have some discussion. What do we need? What do we want? And then you can prioritize, and then you can find out what are things going to cost, and what do the architects say, and engineers and that, and then you can start in on it. So I think this is a process that takes the next 3 to 5 years to figure out completely and get started on some things. We've been doing all that health, life, safety work, fixing a roof and the bricks over on one building and all those kinds of things. That's not kind of real glamorous things. Right, that's like keeping the buildings in great shape. But we want our programs for the kids, science, family, consumer science, whatever else, to be in great shape. We have 2 newer buildings in the district, and then the other 3 we kind of work on as we need to. So I want to get the building committee together with Mr. Goebel and myself, have some conversation about the process we want to go through to get the rest of the board involved, have our school administrators and staff involved, and really just figure out this is really what we need to do, and these are the things we would love to do. I know people would love to get their fingers in and see what we can do with our football complex. Are there other structures we could build to make sports even bigger and better, those kinds of things? And I think,
are you talking about a dome over the baseball field?
Absolutely. I get blamed a lot for paying more attention to baseball than football or anything else, but that's not true. I just like baseball better. But
Mhm.
so we've actually done more work on the ball fields than the football field. Anyway, I just think there are a lot of things that people would love to do and love to see in Clinton, in future years. And again, that can't happen overnight. We also have 2 pieces of property that we're not currently using. We got the 3 acres behind the bank, and we have the old Washington school lot. So in this planning process, the board will need to consider, do they want to do something with those properties, or do they want to let them go? So
Sure.
we'll see.
Well, and all of that is gonna cost money. I mean, selling property is not gonna cost money, but obviously everything
other
else.
things.
And so you've got to find a way to pay for those things. Talk a little bit about options there.
So when we come up with a plan and we prioritize and we think, okay, this is what these things are going to cost, we are in a position, I think, of what we have in reserve now to do some things without borrowing money or doing some big splash like that. Oh, there are ways to borrow money in the short term, have the ability to pay it off as we do, and then be done with that, not have something hanging over our heads for 20 years, like when you build a brand new building. But I think if people really want to do more facilities, more upgrades, or build bigger, newer things, not domes, but other structures, redo football complex, there's the 1% sales tax that's out there that would be available if voters were up for something like that. It's not a good thing to think about right now in the midst of political turmoil and inflation and gas prices the way they are. But I think some point in time in the next year or two or whatever, the community should take a look at that again, because I think a lot of folks that I talk to want some of the things that we don't have at this point in time. And when they go other places in Sangamon County or Champaign County or Macon County, they see all these really neat things. And it's like, this is the 1% sales tax that funds that, even in Logan County. I mean, Logan County, our old stomping grounds right across from the junior high school is a turf baseball softball field.
What, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know
turf
that.
on the infield there.
Oh, wow. Good for them.
You have a 1% sales tax. You can do some things like that. So that's something that people could think about too, as far as funding such projects.
Right. Absolutely. Well, and it's just so funny, like with the 1 cent sales tax. I think I've told you this, several times. Even on days where there's nothing going on at the school, you look across the street at McDonald's, KFC, Dairy Queen, the movie theater. You've got people at all these places, lines and lines and lines.
Right.
That's revenue you can tap into. And you put an event across the street at the high school and then look across the street at those places and you see all the people there. So
when all the people come to town for Apple and Pork, when they come to town, when we host an event, and Mr. Keppel is hosting a lot of events again this year for IESA or IHSA, people know all of our restaurants and they'll shop at our stores and gas stations, whatever. So
you've got football that does 7-on-7 in the summer. You've got programs doing, baseball programs doing things at your complex all summer and all those things.
That's a lot of people that don't even live here.
Right.
That's what you want to
pay
for.
Yeah. That's what you want to tap into is the dollars they're spending in our community. So
yeah, I personally am in favor of a 1% sales tax. I know some people are not. Some people I'm very close to will not vote yes for that.
Right.
But I think if we educate everyone, and show all the details about it, I think they'd be more inclined to do it.
But I think another thing you mentioned is key, is that right now is not the time for that.
I don't personally think it is.
Yeah,
no.
yeah. Now's not the time for something
we're
like
all
that. But
pretty
there will
upset.
come a day when it will be.
I think so. We're all pretty upset about the gas prices and shortage in the grocery stores, or having to pay higher costs, and it's turmoil. It's political turmoil as well too. So probably we should not contribute to that noise.
Well, Mr. Nettles, as we wrap up here for this morning, still a few minutes left yet with you. What is kind of on your radar as the 2022-23 school year kicks off? Let me ask you this. How good does it feel to be back to a normal school year?
It feels fantastic. I will tell you that, we talk about, playing sports, muscle memory. So I hadn't put the suit and tie on in a while, and it was almost like putting the suit and tie on. My muscle memory was, where's my mask? And I felt a little weird. So hopefully we're putting all that behind us, moving forward. It was great to see everybody's smiling faces or sad faces, depending on your emotion of the morning. And just, and we've had teachers for a couple of days now before this. It's great. It feels, I told everybody, it's going to feel like 2018, 19. Now there's still people that are going to get COVID and get a little bit sick and things like that. And we'll have to deal with it. I sent some information to you all out as parents recently. And, if you're sick, stay home, and we're going to watch those kinds of things. But this feels really great. And we're super excited about starting this school year.
What traditions are you looking forward to having back to normal?
The thing I've been thinking about the most is like homecoming and the homecoming parade. And I know we had the parade last year, but it's just doing all those kinds of things. Jamming that gym full of people to watch good basketball or, whatever the case may be, whatever sport. Parents getting to come back into schools for parent-teacher conferences if they want to. Grandparents' Day at CES, maybe having our veterans back in on Veterans Day to celebrate, just all those kinds of things. Our school district is a community, and we want the community involved. So them showing up. So yesterday at CES was, parents dropping off school supplies, going into the room, meet the teacher, all that. And I always say this about Grandparents' Day. It looks like a line for a Beatles concert or something going down that sidewalk. So that was great to see.
Sure. Mr. Nettles, always good to have you in studio, my friend.
Thank you.
Enjoy the first day of school. Curt Nettles, Superintendent of Clinton Schools, following up the Tuesday night Clinton Board of Education meeting with us here for this morning. The morning show streams to Facebook and YouTube, brought to you by Peterson Insurance, your Pekin Insurance agent in Clinton. Network news on the way on the WHOW Morning Show.
WHOW.